if you were in charge of the upcoming Harry Potter HBO TV show and you had to make 5 changes from the Harry Potter canon, what would those changes be? What would you actually want to change about the series? I had this thought the other day, and I reached out to a friend of mine, Brett's Thoughts, who is incredible at having these sorts of conversations and coming up with ideas for this sort of thing. And we sat down and shared our ideas back and forth, and we came up with 10 different things that we would want to actually change about the Harry Potter series. And this is actually a part 1 of a longer conversation we had where we talked about the 10 things that we definitely don't want the TV show to change from the Harry Potter canon. And so that video, not out yet, but it will come out in a few days. And so if you want more information about that, make sure you follow along, subscribe. And yeah, that video will come out very soon. But this is a bit of a break from my normal Harry Potter content. If you're new here, typically what I do here is I cover the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter. We also do Jeopardy and cover Harry Potter fan fiction, a whole bunch of other things. But with the series coming out soon and the trailer coming out and the behind the scenes documentary, I just got so excited and wanted to have this conversation with Brett. And so, yeah, if you were disappointed and you wanted the next chapter by chapter episode to come out today, I'm very sorry, but chapter by chapter coverage will resume next week, where I will be covering chapters 31 and 32 of The Goblet of Fire with the hosts of the Half-Blood Pod. But thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
He's more than an athlete. He's an artist.
I think you're in love, Ron.
Shut up. Victor, I love you. Victor, I do. When we're apart, my heart beats only. Harry Potter!
Eyes aren't glistening with the ghost of my past.
I'm not an owl.
Technically, it's a fact. Ah, c'est magnifique. Kill the stag. Marty Crouch.
Behaving like a babbling, bumbling band of baboons.
Junior.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Retold, the show where I retell you my favorite story of all time, Harry Potter. But today, instead of recapping chapters, what we're going to be doing is Brett and I are going to be talking about the upcoming HBO TV show for the Harry Potter series and listing our 10 things that we wouldn't mind them changing. 10 things we think would actually be good changes for the series. And I already said his name. I have with me today, Brett from Brett's Thoughts. Hi, Brett.
Hey, Barry. What's going on? Thanks for having me, man.
I'm so happy to have you on. I'm still, at this point, some of our listeners, if they have seen our shows before, they will have already heard probably that you and I were on a trivia show. Mm-hmm. And I'm still angry about what happened on that trivia show.
I'm not.
I know you're not. You know, this is when I knew that I could hate you, was that after it was all said and done, it was one thing the way that you won, but after it was all said and done with no prompting, you messaged the little group chat we had days later and said, just remembered how this episode ended. And I got a pep in my step today. And I was furious, but congratulations on your incredible win on that episode.
Thank you. And now my prize is getting to be here and speak to you about the story we love so much and new versions of it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And so listeners, if you hadn't seen that episode, it's on the Tri-Quizzard show on YouTube. So check that out. Hunter's an incredible host. But Brett, let's get to it. So I'm excited to talk about this. As you've mentioned before in some of our messages, this is your bread and butter. This is the kind of thing that you do, in which you talk about the series. You have an awesome series on YouTube right now of how you would make each book into a movie. And I've been watching those. I'm in the middle of book 5. Book 5 is like the real big one that you had. It was even bigger than the book 6 one, which makes sense the same way the books went. But that's an incredible series. When I was making my list of the 5 things that I would change about the series, I got to like 4 things and I thought, I don't know what else I would do. And I started listening to your videos this morning and I was like, the ideas just kept pouring in and I was very inspired by your episodes. So listeners, check that out on Brett's Thoughts YouTube channel.
I appreciate that, man. It's been so much fun doing the series. Like, I mean, I love listening to the books. Like when I was renovating my house, when I fall asleep to the audiobooks. And so like when they announced the TV show, I was just like, I need to figure out exactly how I'd format every episode, what plot points I'm hitting, where all my conflict is, where all my character moments are. I went to school for film as well. So I'm like, I can finally use my degree for something. So it's been such a fun project. It's taken me about 2 years, but I finally wrapped up season 7 last month, I think.
Yeah, it was interesting because I've just become more familiar with your stuff, but I saw that like that first video over a year and a half ago, I think was when it was posted. I was like, wow, that's a long time ago. And it's funny to see your hair and beard change throughout the different video
I still
episodes.
can't grow a full beard. I'm still working on it.
Me neither. Don't worry about it. But what I'm going to do is, listeners, in case you're wondering, we're going to, as I've said, list out our 5 things that we would change about the Harry Potter series that we would hope that the HBO show does. 5, at least for me. I'm not sure how Brett has formulated his list. We'll see. But for my list, I'm going to list the 5 things that I would change or be okay with them changing from canon. And I know that's kind of scary when you mention that. Oh no, we're changing canon. But I'm going to list my 5. I'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, and then I'll say some honorable mentions in number 1. But that's how I'm sort of approaching it. Brett, what was your thought process when making this list?
So I've come at it the same way I sort of came to the video series that you mentioned, where I was just like, if I were making this show, what 5 things would I change from how the story is currently presented to elevate it, to get us to buy into the characters more, so that we're taken along the plot points in sort of like a more emotional way, to make the storytelling a little bit more dynamic. I'll get into the specifics later, but that's how I've done it. It's more from like a filmmaking perspective / storytelling, as opposed to specific details from canon. That said, there are definitely specific details from canon that I will be diverting from.
Very cool. I like that. So we'll just get started with our list. I'll begin first, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll just go back and forth. My number 5 that I would change from the series, I messaged this one to you as an example, but Ron as a chess master disappears after book 1, and it like doesn't really come back at all. The only like his role in the trio is that he knows the wizarding world, but as far as strategy and planning, that's not him. And so what I would really like to see as far as a change from actual canon is his role look a little more like that, him being a little more intelligent and having more foresight and planning ahead. So I think like, because that was awesome in the first book, the first
100%.
movie, that was his whole bit. And even when later in the series, like I'm reading on my podcast, going through Goblet of Fire right now, and he's whooping Harry in chess before Christmas time or before the Yule Ball. It's still happening, but it's only ever in chess. So I would like to see that leave the chessboard and go into other things. That would be my number 5.
I actually really loved that when you sent it to me as an example, because especially in season 7, when they are coming up with all these plans, whether it's infiltrate the Ministry, infiltrate Gringotts, like that's such a great opening for Ron to show his strategic side, to show all the moving parts and how they come together. And I'm like, I understand that Hermione is like the analytical, intelligent one, and so it sort of does fall in her remit as well. But like, I feel like where she might have the individual details, if we had some moments where Ron brings it all together because he's the strategic master, I'd love that. I feel like that's a perfect opening. Like, definitely between seasons 1 and 7, some more opportunities as well. But that's where it stands out to me. As soon as you said it, I was like, give him like battle planning mastery, because that feels exactly what, like, chess is like a simulation of a battlefield anyway, right?
Yeah. No, and I like the distinction you made there, because that was my thought too, of Hermione is this analytical one, this very intelligent one. And so would that be taking away from her? But I like the idea of maybe she has great ideas and he brings the whole plan together. Like he brings the plan and she has information for him to pull from, things like that. So, but that's my number 5. Brett, what's your number 5?
So mine is not quite so specific, but or maybe it's more specific.
Who's to say?
I want them to come up with a canon reason as to why the portraits aren't the greatest security system in the world. Like, when Sirius Black breaks in, when there is a basilisk crawling through the corridors petrifying people, there are supposed to be sentient portraits all along the walls, and I need a canon reason as to why they're not just like putting their hand up and being like, oh, by the way, Dumbledore, Sirius Black came in as a dog. That's probably how oh, by the way, Dumbledore, it's a basilisk, and it came out of that bathroom just across the hallway. I want a canon reason why that can't happen, because I know I'm just picking plot holes at this point, but like, I feel like that's my biggest gripe. Is you've
No,
made
that
these sentient portraits and they bring nothing to their sentience, really.
yeah, that's actually hilarious. I've never considered that before. I've never even thought about that being a plot hole. But you're 100% right. It's like there's hundreds, if not thousands, of these portraits all
Mhm.
over the place. Why didn't they say anything? Why haven't they noticed? And I'd be completely fine if it was just like a throwaway line of like, yeah, portraits are like self-centered or something, like just something dumb
Mhm.
even. But there's not even that in the main series or in the movie. So it's actually really funny. Um,
Yeah, right? And it's like
mhm,
you have the fat lady after Sirius Black breaks in, she moves to one of her friends' portraits to like lie low for a little bit. And it's like they can move between each other's frames and other versions of themselves in other locations.
mhm,
I'm like, these are really intelligent, like self-thinking, at the very least echoes of people, if not actual like conscious beings themselves.
mhm.
Do something with it, man. Do you know what I mean? Or tell us why you can't. That's what I want from the show.
No, I like that a lot. Very good. So my number 4 is I would. This is going to sound. I don't know if you're going to like this. Did you play
Okay.
Hogwarts Legacy?
I didn't finish it, but I played a good chunk of it, yeah.
Okay, so you get the premise. There are several different times, and I'm seeing it now a lot in Goblet of Fire, that Voldemort mentions old magic or ancient magic, and throughout the series you'll hear Dumbledore say that term as well. And in the Hogwarts Legacy game, ancient magic is like the main crux of it, in that it's your character is special because they have this ability to access this ancient magic that is unique from all other types of magic in some way. I think as and yeah, I'm so nervous to say this already because I don't think you're going to like it. I think as an explanation for how powerful certain wizards like Dumbledore or Voldemort are, is that they know they are able to access ancient magic like your character is in Hogwarts Legacy. I like there are these special individuals that have this just trait about them that is able to do that. Because Dumbledore, he is on a whole nother level from any other wizard we see
Mhm.
as far as his power goes. And I think that would be a great explanation for it. Now, I know that gets rid of like maybe he worked hard or just studied a lot or all that, but I still think it's a cool reason for it. So that would be mine, is that and they even said that there would be Hogwarts Legacy tie-ins with this series. And so I think that'd be a cool change as to how Dumbledore is as great as he is.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
like it. I know you said you didn't think I would, but I do. Because I think
Okay.
you're right. I think a lot of like Dumbledore's power is that like he's pure of heart and he's like he's good at his core, or he's worked hard, like you say, and dedicated himself to studying magic. And it's like, well, do you not think other wizards are also studying magic a lot? Like there
Mhm,
has to be something innate that makes him that much of a level up. You know, like if
mhm.
Voldemort is that much more powerful than everybody else, such that he can duel Slughorn, McGonagall, Flitwick, and Sprout all at the same time. But then when Dumbledore comes face to face with him in the Ministry at the end of book 5, like he's that much, he's got one hand behind his back basically because he's refusing
Yeah.
to kill Voldemort. He's just
Mhm.
stalling so the Ministry will come and see him, and he still outwits him. He still out like duels him. There has to be something beyond just like work ethic to
Mhm.
explain that. And
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's something innate.
Mhm. I also like to, I mean, one more piece of evidence for him being able to access ancient magic, or at the very least, something to support it, to make this decision would be like he's able to beat Grindelwald, who has the
Mhm.
Elder Wand. You know, it's like, how was Dumbledore able to do that? Now, I'd have heard a cool fan theory from the Super Carlin brothers on why he's able to do that, and so
Mhm.
we don't have a long enough video to go into that now. But listeners, if you want to check that video out, that's really cool. I also, the other day, was listening to one of their fan theories, and they talked about you, Brett. I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's like one of
Which
them
was
said,
it? The where the original Unforgivable Curses came from?
yeah, that was really cool. I was just listening, and all of a sudden he goes, now I got this theory from Brett's Thoughts over on YouTube, and he's cool with it. He's cool with me talking about this. So, but go check out that video if you want to hear the original, and then he does his thing. But I was like,
Yeah,
I
they
know
were
Brett.
so cool about that, man. They like I posted a theory on TikTok, and they like reached out and they were like, "Can we build on this in a video?" I was
Mhm.
like, "Dude, hell yeah, of course!" And then they had me on for like a Jay versus Ben trivia episode as well.
Oh,
which was
very
great.
cool.
And I wiped the floor with them. Spoiler
Heck
alert.
yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. I'm dreamcasting right now. I am at the moment creating a uh, Harry Potter Family Feud game, and I'm going to send out like to 100 Harry Potter fans to get their. Do you know how Family Feud works?
Yeah, we got it
Yeah.
here.
To get their responses to the questionnaire, and then I would love for them, the Super Carlin brothers, to be like on the same team as two of them versus two of somebody else. I don't know who the other two would be, but that's my little.
That sounds so
dreamcasting.
fun, dude. That's such a
Right?
cool idea.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my number 4. Brett, what's yours?
Okay, for my number 4, I would like. I don't think it's technically diverging from canon too much, but it is giving us a glimpse at things we don't see otherwise. I want them to give us. We know in the TV show we're going to get scenes away from Harry's perspective, right? We've already seen glimpses of that in the leaked pictures and in the trailer and stuff. I want scenes of Ron and Hermione spending time together without Harry. So, like when Harry's at Quidditch practice, when he's in detention, at the beginning of the Order of the Phoenix, when he's stuck at the Dursleys because they can't take him to Grimmauld Place yet, and it's just Ron and Hermione. I want scenes of that so that when they get together in the last season and a bit, it doesn't feel so random. Like we see Harry's relationship with Ginny sort of grow from like Quidditch and similar interests, and then he's jealous of her when she gets with Dean, and we see that sort of grow. But I don't feel like we see it too much with Ron and Hermione, and I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to do it in all those moments where Harry's not there.
No, I agree. I like that a lot. I remember for a second when you were saying that, I was like, where have I heard this before? And I was like, oh, yeah, it was from his video. You've even seen it in one of your videos at the beginning of that book 5 one. But yeah, because there are these long stretches where Harry's not there. Like and Hermione and Ron are either at the Burrow alone or at Grimmauld Place alone. I'm also thinking specifically of like in Prisoner of Azkaban, when Ron and Hermione are both worried for Harry, and Harry says something in his inner monologue, like he could tell they had rehearsed this conversation. So like they are spending that time together. So I do like that, and it would help a lot with the change or the relationship at the end, as you say.
Yeah. And I think to build on that, like whenever I have been asked about like, which is not terribly often, but it happens sometimes. Whenever I've been asked about whether I think Ron and Hermione like being married and having kids and being together 19 years later, if that makes sense, my answer is always no, because the side of Ron that we see is the side that needs mothering, right? And so I'm always like, he seems like the kind of man who's going to end up marrying someone he wants to like mother him, to carry on taking care of him in the same way Molly has. But Hermione seems way too ambitious to be that person. So at least if we get scenes of them together and we show Ron maturing and growing and not looking like someone who needs mothering while he's around Hermione all the time, then I'll buy into the fact that they stay together for 19 years. That's fine.
Ron comes across to me as like, of the 3, the character who is the most himself. And the only time, it's just a shame that a lot of the really personal moments we see of him are the shallow moments or the selfish moments or just the immature ones. Because like, I do love some of the really in-depth moments into his character. One of my favorite moments in the whole series, even though it's an odd one, is in the 4th one when he is walking back from the Care of Magical Creatures class after he just found out that the leprechaun gold disappears. And you see how much that hurts him and how much that like bothered his pride. But like, I don't know, it was really cool insight into his character. And it in its own way, it seemed mature. So I would like more moments like that as well, and that development of Ron's character too. So moving on to my number 3. All right, there are certain things that this series is obviously going to change, and I think I have a note on this in our next discussion about changes we do not want to see. And I'll alluding to it a little bit too, is I don't want too much nuance, because I love the simplicity of the wizarding world, and I like nuance, but I don't want too much, because I think as far as a children's series goes, some of the lack of it in certain areas is makes the simplicity wonderful. But I would like more nuance in the ministry, and I would specifically like for more ministry wizards to be capable. I like they come across as so silly and not intimidating at all. Like the only intimidating Aurors are, you've got Moody, you've got Shacklebolt, and you've got Scrimger. That's about it. The rest of them are kind of like bumbling. And I don't
Yes.
know, when I hear about a Death Eater taking out a whole bunch of Aurors, or I hear about uh, a whole like certain people escaping from Azkaban or whatever, it doesn't seem that impressive when I look at the rest of the Aurors and the other Ministry wizards, and I'm like, you're not that intimidating to begin with, so it doesn't seem that great of a feat, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think I often read it as like almost like a commentary on society in the UK, particularly in the 90s and the early 2000s, where it's like there's clearly corruption in the media, and we see that with all the propaganda from like the fifth and sixth books with the Daily Prophet, and there's obviously the seventh book, but also like the we see it with Dumbledore, kind of, right? People who seek out power are not fit for power in the way that Dumbledore doesn't want it. He refuses the place, like as minister. How Arthur is quite happy in his small, modest department in the Ministry when he could have, moved sideways or moved into other departments where he had more career progression. I think the idea that a lot of the Ministry is full of bumbling idiots is because those are the kind of people who we see in government oftentimes. Do you know what I mean? The people, career politicians seeking out power just for power's sake, who are actually kind of useless middle managers at best. Do you know what I mean? I do like that side of it, but on the flip side, I would like to see a bit more like grit and determination and competence from certain members in certain places. I think I can meet you in a middle ground there for sure.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because that is interesting, and I hadn't considered that before. But in changing this, you would lose that aspect of what the Ministry is supposed to represent on a grander scale. I love that cup. I have the same cup. Listeners, he just held up a Volcano Bay cup. I have 4 in my house right now. The bottom part of it would get water in it when I would wash it in the dishwasher.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm talking about? How it has that little connection at the bottom?
Yeah.
So I actually took a hammer and knocked it off all 4 of them. It broke only one of them, but the other 3, it's fine now. Because I was like, I'm tired of looking at water collect down there. But
yeah, we got a Halloween Horror Nights one a couple of years ago, and we got the ones that light up. So there's like a battery in the bottom, but like very slowly water got in there, rusted like the button.
Yeah,
and I was like, we shouldn't use a cup with a wet battery in it. So we threw those out.
We might die. Who knows? Cancer cup. But as you said, I like that idea. And yeah, I think a middle ground is good. Especially, I think the people that should be the competent ones, at least maybe the ones we don't often get to see, like the Unspeakables. Maybe they do appear as like terrifying especially to these young wizards. So I agree.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think you're right. I think people like Ludo Bagman have to still be bumbling idiots, but definitely the Unspeakables, some auras, like especially as Voldemort's on the rise, having some competent auras kind of feels necessary. Otherwise, it's just like, how does the Ministry last another 3 years?
Amelia Bones. I don't think she was an aura, but she was a boss.
Yeah, 100%.
What's your number 3?
Okay, my number 3 is I would like them to flesh out the supporting characters more. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what I said about Hermione and Ron having those scenes, but like I want to learn, like, all the stuff that we got after the books came out, like about Flitwick as a dueling champion, and McGonagall and her love story with a Muggle, and how she was like just really unlucky in love. Like, have you seen The Last of Us?
I have.
So one of my favorite episodes of TV in recent memory is like the Frank and Bill episode. And in the game, I don't know if you've played the game, but in the game, they are not significant characters whatsoever. And the show just like gave them this really engrossing story, so we'd care about them more, and so we'd understand the stakes wider than just our protagonists, like of the world. Do you know what I mean? It's one of my favorite episodes of TV in like modern history, and maybe that's an exaggeration, but I loved it. But I really like the idea of doing similar things for like Flitwick and his history and how he's ended up being such a brilliant, competent wizard and a teacher, and McGonagall and her love story, and she's always described as being stern and strict but still fair. Like, I want to know how she got there. You know what I mean?
Like these, I think one of the words I heard you say in your videos was a bottle episode that sort of just encapsulates a lot of that character's backstory. And I remember in the book 5 one you were talking about with the Death Eaters potentially doing one. You're kind of back and forth on that, but potentially having a bottle episode about the Death Eaters' history. And yeah, I think with a lot of those characters, maybe there could be a moment when they're in the Great Hall looking at their students and they just flash back and then they come to again back in the Great Hall. Like, so I don't know, something. I think that could be really good too. And who wouldn't want more of all these characters?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly, right? Like, I don't think we need spin-off after spin-off after spin-off. So just like some extra depth to some of these characters. Like, it doesn't have to be flashbacks either. Just like a personal anecdote from one of the teachers as they're talking to each other would be wonderful.
Especially early on in those first 3 seasons when a 8-hour TV series is a lot for those 3 books. And so you kind of got some time to do that. But I'm a fan. I like it.
Sweet.
My number 2, and this is a movie change that is actually my favorite movie change to a piece of Harry Potter canon from the books, but I want the series to do it as well. And it's Hedwig's death. I was incredibly sad when Hedwig died, but in the book, Hedwig is just in her cage, and that's when she gets killed. In the movie, she dies protecting Harry. She flies in front of him when an Avada Kedavra curse is sent at him. And I love that. That was much more meaningful. That was much more significant to me. Like, if I'm going to lose Hedwig, I hated for it to be she was just in her cage. And I loved that in this series where Harry struggles so much with the fact that he's only alive because person after person sacrifices himself. It's even more significant. Not just even people, his own pet sacrificed herself for him. And so I loved that movie change. You know, as sad as it was, I thought it was a really cool change that they did. And I would like for the series to keep that as well.
I have a question for you about that, Barry, if I can. Because I know you're not asking for me to sign off, but I'm teetering on the edge here as to whether I agree or not. Is there any part of you that worries that Harry's about to get hit with the killing curse, Hedwig flies in the way, sacrifices herself, dies to save Harry, and then literally moments later, Harry's about to get hit with a killing curse and his wand acts by itself to protect him again? Do you think Hedwig sacrificing herself diminishes the wand moment by essentially being the same thing repeated moments later? Do you know what I mean? I would be okay if somebody interpreted it that way. It doesn't do that for me. Okay. For a second, I thought you were about to go, does her sacrifice not protect him? And I was like, that's not how that works with animals. But I think it's one of the reasons you could say it doesn't diminish is that the killing curse that was sent at him that Hedwig blocks is from some random Death Eater. But the wand connection, that's with Voldemort. Sure.
That's with the big bad. And so I think, could it take away? Yeah. But I'm going to choose not to do that.
I love that. You know what? I'm sold. It's the perfect answer, and I'm with you then in that case. I like that change.
The perfect answer is, how about no?
Have you tried just not thinking that way?
Yeah, just do that. It'd be so much better. What's your number 2?
Okay, so it seems like my last 3 are all connected, but I want flashbacks. I want lots and lots of flashbacks. I am a big show don't tell person. I feel like there is a lot of telling in the Harry Potter books. We are told by Hagrid pretty much in the first 6 chapters, Voldemort is the most evil a person has ever been. So evil people are scared to say his name. Show me why people are scared to say his name, because that is not like we say the names of some of the worst fascist dictators in history. Do you know what I mean? We're not afraid to say the name. Sometimes we'll be sensitive to it, but we're not afraid to say it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Show me exactly why. Give me a flashback as to why people are scared of saying his name. Give me flashbacks about, don't just tell me Lockhart is a fraud. Show me him doing his fraudulent stuff. Give me some flashbacks when we have the reveal of him stealing those moments from people. I don't want I like the pensieve, but I also just want a ton of flashbacks so you can show me all this bigger character stuff and world stuff, as opposed to just telling me this just is because it is, and we just have to move on with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think with the first one especially, one of the things I've heard some people talk about is and by first one I mean you talking about Voldemort being this awful, terrifying, worst wizard who's ever been. Some of the speculation I'll hear, people will wonder what the opening scene in this series is going to be. And one of the cool ideas that I liked was it opening with the night of the Potter's murder, or something like that, of maybe this just dark buildup. I don't necessarily want that, because I want to keep the lighthearted tone of the series. I think that is, or at least the whimsical tone, I think that is integral to this being a success. But I agree. I think something like that early on, because in the movie, even when Hagrid's explaining it to him, you get like that cloaked figure walking through the Potter's yard. But more because it's a TV show and we have time for that now. So I 100% agree. I like that.
Yeah, and like that's not just me saying I want every other episode to be a flashback, but like there can be little scenes, do you know what I mean? Glimpses and flashes. Like again, I'm just borrowing from my series of how I turn each book into a season of TV, but like the amount of times I'm like, to do this part of the plot justice, we need to see it. We can't just exposition dump. So that's what I want.
Yeah, well, I liked one of the things I kept thinking about as I was listening to your series, because I binged your series this morning and I got almost to the end of book 5. And one of the things you kept saying was, and then there's a line about this, or there's a scene with this. And I was like, how are they going to do all that? But then I thought, it's as easy as just putting it in the background for some of these things, or as easy as just having it in a montage. So I think there is room for all that stuff. And I don't think it would be cluttered with flashbacks. I think it's very easy to tastefully put them in there and have that jive well. So.
Yeah, especially when you're spending $100 million per episode, right? They can definitely go out and shoot. Apparently, I mean, I saw the report. That's what I've heard. I don't know if they've confirmed it. I don't know if they would confirm it, but I believe an IP like this would be the most expensive TV show ever made. I think the numbers make sense. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think I saw something that said and the person told me to take it with a grain of salt, but that the trio are each making £500,000 per episode. I don't know what that is in dollars, but so there you go.
If that's true, that's wild. But I'm also like, for a lot of them, this is their like big break. I feel like maybe you don't need to pay them that yet, because it's only going to go up from here. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I wonder, would it make more sense? Again, I just said a number that meant nothing to me. I don't know what the pounds to dollars transition is, but would it make more sense for that to be a series number? Like they got paid that much for the series? Or do you think that would be too little?
It's not
the
hard
series.
To say.
I mean the season. The season. I mean,
yeah. It's hard to say because I don't really know. I don't know what actors make for projects like this, really, especially like child actors. If it's like less, because obviously they can be on set for less time. Like we have like child labor laws where you can't be on set for longer than like a half day or something like that. So I don't know. For me personally, in my experience with money, that could be a whole like 7 seasons figure, and I'd be happy. Do you know what I mean?
I'd sign up.
Yeah,
make
right.
me a Quidditch player. I would love it. But moving on now before we get to number 1, I just had a few honorable mentions I wanted to run by you of changes that I think would be cool to have into the series. And so one of them, and I thought about this in book 4. You mentioned this in your series that you want Neville to be the one, that you want Dobby to be the one that gives Harry the gillyweed. And, in book 5, Dobby to be the one that reveals the room of requirement. I love that. But I also really like those Neville character moments in the movies. Not more, but I did like it for the character of Neville. And I thought maybe a cool change to canon would be like in the 4th book or in the 4th season, Harry's struggling to figure out the task, how to breathe underwater. And Mad Eye Fakey knows about it. And so he somehow orchestrates it for maybe he gave Neville the book, and Dobby overhears Neville talking about the book. And rather than overhearing, so rather than hearing McGonagall and Moody talk about it in the staff room, he overhears Neville reading or something like that and brings it in. I would just like Neville to be included in that again as well, because there's not a lot of Neville even in the book, And I think he's such an amazing character that the fandom has clung on to, and we can make much more of him. So I guess the overarching point being, make Neville a greater character. And then the sidebar being, this is one of the ways you could do it. This is one of the ways you could still include him. But
Yeah,
that'd be an honorable mention.
I really like that. I like giving Neville more moments. One of the show don't tell things that I was hinting at before. Don't just tell me that there's a rebellion that Neville's leading or helping to lead at Hogwarts in the 7th season. Like, give me an episode where we see everything.
Yeah.
Like, we hear about them trying to heist the Gryffindor sword out of Snape's office. Like, show us that. Do you know? Give us a whole episode. And all through it, like, give me more Neville. I like the idea of like Neville being good at herbology early enough that in the 2nd season he's somewhat helping with the Mandrake stuff. Do you know what I mean? As like an extracurricular or whatever. I think you're right.
This
I
is
think
the
giving
field
him
he's
more
competent
moments.
in.
Yeah, exactly.
My other honorable mention. So one of the things that I've always had a huge problem with in the series is in book 5, labeling the prophecy a weapon. I've always hated
Agreed.
that.
Yeah.
And I think they should change the wording to Voldemort's looking for information or do something different than calling it a weapon. That would be my real quick honorable mention for that one. And then my last honorable mention is...
Can I add something to your prophecy
go
one?
ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
What
please.
if... This changes way more, and it's just a thought I've had on a whim just as you've been speaking, so feel free to like toss it out. But like, what if there is also a weapon in one of the other chambers in the Department of Mysteries, and it gets destroyed in the chaos of the attack? So it is a weapon as well as the prophecy that he's after.
I would love that. I wouldn't hate it too much. No, I was going to say I wouldn't hate it if it wasn't even the prophecy at all, but that is important because of the Snape aspect of it and learning and him
and Neville
stuff
could have
like
been the chosen one. And the fact that Voldemort chose who was going to be his nemesis.
And not saying to get rid of the prophecy, but having that be the MacGuffin for book 5. But yes, there could be both. I mean, heck, they did it in Deathly Hallows where it was Horcruxes or Hollows, and there were like 2 MacGuffins there. And so I think you could add that with book 5.
As a hook at the start of book 5, saying he's after a weapon and we as the audience and Harry also don't know what it is, I think it's a better hook than just like information. But like, I think it's such a disappointment. It feels so clickbait, right? When we then find out it's just a prophecy.
Yeah,
so
he's after
I'm with you on changing
something. They just say something.
Wink.
And then my last honorable mention is that, okay, I don't know how I feel about this, so I'm going to kick it to you. But I hated that Harry spent all of book 4 getting to know Mad-Eye Moody, and it wasn't actually Mad-Eye Moody. I'm wondering, I'm not even asserting this, that I want this change. I'm just wondering, is there a way that that's not the fake Mad-Eye Moody all year long? Like maybe Barty Crouch Jr. is sneaking in and disguising himself every once in a while, or maybe he's Imperious, the real Mad-Eye Moody, to teach out there. I don't know, just something along those lines of the real Mad-Eye Moody being a part of the school year with Harry. Because I did like that a lot. And then and after that, Moody's like this much more distant character where he became so personal in book 4 and then he's just removed. So it was a bit of a bait and switch. I'm not sure how it would work, but something along the lines of either maybe there's 2 Moody's going around and sometimes there's confusion because of that and people aren't actually sure. And it's kind of a callback to Hermione in year 3. Like, how did she appear here and then here? And so maybe some people even think, oh, Moody has a time turner. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because the Imperious thing kind of works, because at least Moody that's under the Imperious curse, we know from Harry's perspective when he's put under it, that he's like still aware of the things going on, even if he's not in control. So at least he's somewhat there in those interactions with Harry. I feel like that's too big of a thing to settle on. I feel like I need to go into the nuances of the text and what that might compromise.
Or do you even need him to do something with Moody? Like, could he just be in the shadows, Barty Crouch Jr. the whole time, and just messing like secretly? Like, I mean, Rita Skeeter was secretive in her operations all year long, and she was able to infiltrate the castle and classes and all this.
She was.
Maybe Junior could do it without messing with Mad-Eye Moody.
I think in theory, in real life, in practice, that could work. For me, from a story perspective, if you have all these red herrings, like, is it Karkaroff who put his name in the Goblet of Fire? Is it Ludo Bagman who did it? Like, and then the big reveal is, oh, it's this character who's been in the shadows that you've not really actually met.
Good point.
Feels like quite
Good point.
a
No, I agree
disappointing
with that,
reveal.
yeah.
So I agree. I want that relationship to mean more with Moody. And like it could just be that the third task comes forward a little bit so that it's in like May. And so then they still have June and July where the real Moody carries on teaching them for the last like couple of months. And at least then Harry and him have some time. But dude, it's hard, isn't it? Because I agree I want them to have more, but I don't know how we fit it in without compromising the important beats of the story.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point, especially as far as all the different red herrings go. So
Can I offer up an honorable mention?
Please do. I was just about to ask.
I would like original characters who aren't in the text added to the series to fill in certain gaps. For example, I know it's not uncommon for people to talk about the fact that there isn't really like a even remotely like nice or approachable Slytherin.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind if we just had an additional Slytherin who maybe like says no to Draco Malfoy, stands up to him in the Chamber.
Say no to Draco. It's a campaign.
Exactly. Like in the Chamber of Secrets where Fake, Crabbe and Goyle as Harry and Ron are like interrogating him in the Slytherin common room. And he's like, I wish I knew who it was. I'd help them. Having another Slytherin in the background just being like, you should not help murder Muggleborns. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
What?
You know, like, just... I don't mind the idea of an original character here or there. Like maybe this Slytherin tries or at least toys with the idea of joining the DA. Whether they do or not is besides the point. Or fleshing out like other characters like Kettleburn, who we don't really see much of, or like Sinistra, like fleshing those characters out more. I don't mind the show taking liberties with certain characters to fill certain like personality based gaps in the story, you know.
No, I agree, and you're hitting on something for my other list, but I'll mention it here too because I'll probably make it 2 different videos. But I don't want a complete change of the house's personalities, because that's something I'll hear talked about in the fandom a lot. Of a common complaint is, especially with Slytherin, they're all evil, and I definitely don't think they all should be, but I also don't want each house to lose its like unique role in the series. But I would like, I mean, if the most of the characters we see like Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle, Pansy are still themselves, I think that still gives room to have those other characters who are like, hey, what the heck are you talking about? What's wrong
exactly.
with you?
Yeah,
You know?
like, come
We're
on,
at
man.
school. You're 12. What?
Yeah. Why are you talking about murder, dude? Like, chill.
I would love that if like Malfoy's saying that, you know, in his second year and a 7th year walks by like, dude, what the heck is wrong with these kids these days?
For sure. 100%.
Did you have any more honorable mentions?
I did have one more honorable mention.
Go for it.
I want them to use no green screens in Quidditch. You know how like the Mandalorian, the Batman, they have those big like huge panels for like virtual backgrounds and stuff?
Oh yeah, what's that called? This not the sound stage. I know what you're talking about though. Yeah.
Yeah,
They use it
like
like the Percy Jackson series as well.
Yeah, I'm like, you
the
can
volume.
have...
That's what it's called.
Yes, the volume, exactly. You can have like more realistic interactions with light and with staging and stuff. You can have real-time like changes to it. You can have like, you're not going to get that messy like hair flapping in the wind, like a broomstick. Not like, you can actually have them on wires with a real background behind them as they actually move. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Specifically in Quidditch, I want no green screens and to use the volume. And they have the budget for it, as we've talked about.
I want them like Tom Cruise doing their own stunts, hanging on the side of the broom.
Exactly right.
And so, moving on now to our number 1 biggest change we want to see, or canon change we want to see, and this is my top one. And I don't know how well this is going to go over because this is a massive change.
Okay,
like
I'm
very
ready.
massive. I would love it if you made Draco Malfoy slightly more like the character of Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And what I mean by that is, Draco is this awful character who has no redeeming qualities, and then all of a sudden in book 6, he starts to feel the weight of what his parents' beliefs, and he's being dragged into this, even though he's somewhat seemingly supported this all along. And then in book 7, he doesn't rat out Harry, but then soon after the Battle of Hogwarts, he's actively trying to kill Harry. So it's like, why did you feel that switch? I think I would like, and then the actor for Draco has already said that they filmed scenes at home with Lucius and there's a bunch of extra scenes with Malfoy. I would like for early on, yes, I want Malfoy to still be the bully. I want him to be awful. But maybe these moments of uncomfortability and unsurety that ultimately give him a redemption arc by the time of either 6 or 7 going into it. And because the fandom already begs for that, at least what I see online a whole lot. And they even deleted that scene in movie 8 when he goes, Potter, and he throws him the wand. And I don't know, something like that makes some of his actions later in the series make a little more sense. So I'm not saying I want him to be entirely sympathetic, but I want a little bit more of a redemption for him with groundwork laid earlier.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Last Airbender, but I've heard this before about how, I guess if you haven't seen it as well, like this is a spoiler alert for The Last Airbender, or like my understanding of it, but doesn't Zuko eventually join like the good people and come with them on the quest? And so I've heard people talk about like Draco doing that, saying yes to Dumbledore's help atop the tower. Then he goes on the Horcrux hunt. He gets a true redemption, which I don't hate as a what if. I think it's too much of a stray, and I know that's not what you're going for.
I wouldn't want that much.
Yeah, for sure.
And my apologies. I thought you had seen. I just assumed everybody's seen Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's okay.
But no, Zuko is this character who is fighting on basically the evil side, the Empire, but along the whole journey, you do see how he's only doing this because he wants his father's approval, and then ultimately realizing his father's approval doesn't mean anything. It's got to fight for good. That's where he gets his honor from, really. Yeah. And so it's very similar to Draco. He's trying to get approval from his father, even though it hurts him to do so, and then ultimately changing, not as much as going on the Horcrux hunt, but something that maybe kind of like Snape at the end, where he does this one good thing at the end that we actively see. I know he did more behind the scenes, but something like that.
So that's interesting, because I feel like the movies soften Draco too much. And I would like the show to go in the other direction, where he doesn't get redemption, and we see that actually he never, because in the books, like for example, in the very first season, in the book, he goes down the Hogwarts Express seeking out Harry to then say to him, make friends with only the right kind of wizard. Like, whereas in the movies, they happen upon each other atop the staircase, right? And they have that conversation. And it's like, time and time again in the books, Draco seeks out situations in which he can be prejudiced, in which he can torment, in which he can bully, in which he can physically go after people like Neville. He looks for that. Whereas in the movie, it's very reactive. It's very, this situation presents itself to him, and he just then does this. Whereas I think they're much more active choices in the book for him to be that way. And I think that's all the way through, even in the Half-Blood Prince, like you say, where he's like, I'm in over my head, and don't get me wrong, he's not a murderer. I don't think there's ever any chance he's going to kill Dumbledore. But when Snape offers him help, it's not that he's like a scared little boy and doesn't know if he can take the help. He says to him, he's like, you just want my glory. Like, this is all about like positioning himself in that position of power, in becoming the person that his father could not. And so I feel like when we get to the Deathly Hallows, and the movies made it so obvious that was just Daniel Radcliffe, but like a little bit swollen, right? But in the book, like, you're genuinely not sure if that's Harry. And if you think about the way that the Malfoys have fallen, I more feel like it's self-preservation from Draco that he won't say definitely it's Harry, because he's like, if I get this wrong and we summon Voldemort and it's me who said it was Harry, like, our family is on the chopping block more than it was before. So for me, none of these are evidence of Draco seeking redemption or improving. It's more self-preservation. It's more that he's just like, it's the consequences of his actions that he's scared of, rather than trying to become a better person. So I'd go the other way and say I want them to make him more that sort of cold-hearted bully who's just after like power in the same way his father was. That would be my read of it anyway.
Fair enough. One of the things you were saying in that moment with Harry in Malfoy Manor, him wanting to preserve his family. I also thought, as far as another way you could view it as self-preservation goes, is if he doesn't summon Voldemort, it's Harry survives, and maybe he actually does take out Voldemort, not because I like Harry, but because right now Voldemort has us under his thumb. You know, and so it's still another way of self-preservation.
For sure.
But I still like the interpretation of make him even more evil. I don't think the fandom will side with you as much on that, Brett, but I still like that twist a lot as well. How very Slytherin.
Hey, I am who I am, okay?
That's right. Well, that's my number one. Brett, what is your number one?
So my number one, if anyone listening has followed me on the internet for any amount of time, they will probably see this coming. My number one change I want them to make is the epilogue. I want them to scrap the epilogue the 19 years later entirely. I hate it. It's like a backdoor pilot for The Cursed Child, which nobody needs. And instead, so I've done a video where I go in depth on like 3 or 4 different ideas that could be a much better suited epilogue. But I feel like what the epilogue lacks, which epilogue should do, is like sunsetting the world we've fallen in love with, right? And that involves seeing what's happened to Hogwarts, seeing what's happened to the Ministry, seeing what's happened to like day-to-day life in the wizarding world, more of our characters, the house system, all after the collapse of Voldemort's reign of terror. And the epilogue gives us none of that. We just see a couple of married characters with their kids. What I want is a dinner party at the Weasleys' house. And it can be a number of years later and they can all have their kids there, but I want them debriefing everything. What I would prefer is like annual dinner parties or like every 5 years. So we like time jump and we see how the world is progressing. But even if it's just one and it's 19 years later and all those kids are there, I want to see how George is dealing with Fred and the loss of his brother. And so
it could be like over Christmas break too. That make more because the kids are back from Hogwarts now. You know?
So it could be. So my idea is more like, you know how oftentimes they would all get together in the summer before they go to Diagon Alley to get all their goods and stuff? I'm like, invite Ron and Hermione. Hermione, I am convinced, confounded her parents rather than changed their memory, so they come back to her. The Grangers should come, and Arthur would love that. I want all the kids running around. I want George talking about pranks that he used to play at Hogwarts with his brother to one of the kids. I want us to hear about how Professor Longbottom's doing. I want to hear about Hermione's work at the Ministry and how that's all going. Like, all of these extended Weasley family members at the Burrow for their pre-Hogwarts dinner before they're going to Diagon Alley to buy all of their stuff, and just catching up on how the world has healed and touching base and talking about all these characters, like talking about the Lovegoods down the road and how Luna has married that magizoologist who's a descendant of Newt Scamander. Give me all of that. Give me all of it instead of just trying to make me care about these kids that I just don't know and don't care about.
Yeah, I think I have a side of me that loves that and a side of me that doesn't. So narratively, I love that because I think like story-wise, you're absolutely right. That's an incredible way to do an epilogue, to sunset it. Thematically, I love it's all said and done, but we're still going back to Hogwarts. Like Hogwarts is always available. And that's the thing about the Hogwarts Express. And I think that's the purpose of ending it at platforms 9 3/4, because it's like, you can still go back. The series is over, but you're still going, like you can always reread and do and I think that's the thematic purpose of ending it at the train station. But I do like narratively that aspect of it and seeing all those characters gathered together and it being a little more personal. And, you know, we don't have to look at sad Draco whose wife died and all that stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
But no, I like that a lot. And I especially liked when you said the inclusion of the Grangers being there. And I like the idea of, hey,
because it's their family too, right?
Now Muggles somewhat more included in the wizarding world, because this whole thing of the Statue of Secrecy being such a big deal, it can still be, but we don't need to have no commingling, you know? So I like that as well. So.
Especially from the Grangers who, in the Chamber of Secrets, went to Diagon Alley anyway. Like, we can integrate them. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, very good. Those are our top 10 things we would change about the Harry Potter canon for the HBO show. And so this episode's already gone for almost an hour. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this episode right here. Brett, thank you so much for being on. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
In Plymouth, Devon, in the UK, but don't come to my house. Instead, you can find me Brett's Thoughts across the internet. Instagram is Brett's.thoughts because my username was taken, but Brett's Thoughts on TikTok, Brett's Thoughts on YouTube as well.
It was taken?
It was taken, man. I'm still not over it, okay?
Was it like taken before you got it, or was it taken while you had it? Like somebody stole
No.
it?
Like it was taken. Somebody had it, so I couldn't like register.
Okay,
for
I
it.
thought somebody stole it from you. I was like, is that allowed?
No, because when I started making content, I was like Brett Ball, my name everywhere, and then like I made a TikTok and Brett Ball was taken, so I was like, oh, it'll be Brett's Thoughts, and I put my thoughts out there, and then that did really well. So I was like, oh, this needs to be where I am everywhere. So I made my YouTube Brett's Thoughts, and then when I went for Instagram, it was just like, nope, can't have that.
Those bat rastards.
I know.
Well, but check Brett out. Several of the videos that we've mentioned of his will be in the description for this. His channel will be in the description. Thank you for being on. Listeners, thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Real quick, just before the video ends, I wanted to hop in here. If you're watching on YouTube, first of all, please excuse my daughter's car seat and baby toys in the background. But, say hi to my dog. Hi, Koga. Anyway, if you're watching on YouTube and, this is your first video of mine that you saw, maybe Brett sent you here, somebody else, you just saw the title and were interested, just wanted to let you know, thank you for watching. And I have a whole Harry Potter podcast where I go through the books 2 chapters at a time. Feel free to check that out. I also have some episodes where we do Harry Potter Jeopardy, fan fiction covers, tons of stuff. So feel free. Retold Podcast. I also have a Patreon that you can go and check things out. There, at the moment of this recording, there's no special content on there yet, but there will be soon. So you can sign up as a free member right now and get updates all about that. Me and a few friends of mine plan on covering the Hogwarts Legacy and Hogwarts Mystery storylines as well, in case you were ever interested in, hey, what goes on in those? So that'll be a thing that you can check out as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like it, share it with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold Podcast is produced by me. That's right, I made this.